What's going on, y'all? It's TCG here, back again with another video, and today I have something for you that was requested by a viewer, and that's going to be staples for each color. So we're going to go over all the cards that I think are generic enough staples that I think you should be having in your arsenal at any time, and this is going to cover all cards up to OPO7 currently for the TCG. So let me know if you think I missed anything down in the comments below. I'd love to let other people know if you think that any of these are not as stapley as I think they are, or if there's anything I missed. But before we jump into this, I want to shout out today's sponsor, and that is going to be Dueling Guard.
Huh? You still aren't using Dueling Guard? Then you aren't using the best TCG accessories on the market. Dueling Guard makes the highest quality TCG deck boxes with the most stunning artwork I've ever seen. Their modular design allows for easy access to your decks and dice. They don't just make deck boxes, they also make the highest quality binders with side-loading pages to keep your expensive cards safe and protected. They also make high quality playmats and now even sleeves. I personally use their sleeves on all of my cards and cannot go back to another sleeve after I've been using theirs. They are grippy and slick when you need them to be, and I have no doubts that my cards are protected in them. Gear up with Dueling Guard to protect your cards in style. Don't forget to use code GUMGUMTCG to get a discount at checkout.
All right, y'all, without further ado, let's just go ahead and kick things off with the red cards for this staple video. I mean, jumping off the bat, we have a new card from EVO1. That's going to be Kid and Killer. This is just a great rush option, and definitely a card I think you should have in your arsenal for any red deck. Honestly, this card's broken. Definitely better in some decks than others, but just being a great new red rush option that gains power, like, great card all around. Another one from EB is going to be the new Tony Chopper blocker. I think this is a great blocker, and also when you attack with it, it gives minus power to something for the turn, so it could make it easier to kill something. If you're playing Law, of course, this makes it easier to abuse your leader effect, but generically speaking, I think this is a great card, great blocker, definitely a card that you should have in your arsenal. Next, we have Otama, all the way from 01. Just your good 2K counter. I mean, this has been a generic red staple since 01, being able to reduce power and also be a 2K counter. Great card. Definitely a card that you should have four of. One that is a little specific. Some of these are going to be archetype specific. Others will not be. But one that I think is generic enough just because there are so many Straw Hat Crew cards, and this is one of the best searchers in the game, gonna be Nami. Nami Searcher can grab so many good cards, and any deck that plays red can definitely play a Straw Hat package, so definitely thought I need to include the main Searcher girl, Nami. Back from 01 again is Roanoa Azora. This is just a good generic 3-5 rusher. I mean, this card has been in a lot of red decks since the beginning of the game, and I definitely think it's one that you should have your hands on. Next, we have Shanks, and I think this one has been outclassed by other cards, but I could see it coming up in the future. You never really know. I think that this card is pretty dang strong. It's just never found its right home, and I feel that other rush cards have kind of made this feel overshadowed. So not my favorite card by far, but definitely one that I think you should have on hand. But one that is really strong is going to be Edward Newgate. Just a great card. Gives a buff to your leader for a whole turn and can pop things, and is just a huge body. Great card you should have four of. Another one that I think is really good generic searcher is going to be Buggy. This adds events to your hand. I think this is a great card if you're playing an event-based strategy, and even if you're not. I mean, I think this card is just really strong. Honestly, it can grab you so many different types of cards. Another one that we have is going to be Marco. This is a 5/6 that pops something, and when it's KO'd, you can trash an event from your hand, which may be a little specific, but I still think it's strong enough to warrant being in your binder for your staples. Next, we have one that's a little underwhelming. Definitely was overhyped on its initial premiere, but yeah, it just feels like it doesn't get to stick on the board long enough. But if there ever is a time where it does, this card is busted. It gives all your red cards with a cost of 3 or more rush. Like, this is just insanely broken. This card often doesn't live more than a turn. So if there ever is a time where it can, I think this card is pretty broken. Next we have Sabo, and I like this card just because it can KO 2 characters. It just doesn't have that right home of a deck where you can reduce enough power to make this really powerful. Once we get that, I definitely think this is a great card. This card is pennies, definitely worth picking up. Next we have Shanks. This is actually pretty recent from 06. Being able to KO a character with the cost of 10,000 or less. Broken. Great red top end, and I definitely think this should be in your collection. Right there next to Shariah from 06 as well, just being another great blocker for the red colorway. 3/4, 1000 counter, and when it attacks or blocks once per turn, it can become the same base power as your opponent's leader until the start of the next turn. So this guy can get beefy, and it's really, really good. Definitely a card you should have. Raised Max, I'm also going to say Gordon as well. I definitely think you should have a playset of either, if not both. Yeah, just a great card that is really strong for red to reduce extra power. Good card. And then Tanaka-san is is swappable with Kobe. They're both just trigger blockers, and they have the exact same stats. They just have different typings, and yeah, no other difference there. I just think that if there's a trigger blocker for your archetype or color, you should definitely have it on hand because they can change the outcome of a game, and I think they're great cards that you should keep on deck. Next we have Monkey D. Dragon, new card from 07. Great top-end rusher that gives extra Dawn to your character or leader. Awesome card, definitely a card that you should have a playset of. Already talked about Kobe. Chopper is going to be your one-cost chump blocker for red, and definitely one that you should have. I think that you should have all the chump blockers for every color, Chopper being the one for red. Right there next to Brooke from the starter deck as well, just being another good 2K that can give Dawn. You know, red loves their extra power and their Dawn manipulation, and I think this is a great card for that. Monkey D. Luffy from the starter deck as well. This is just one of the best rush cards that we've gotten in the game so far. Absolutely broken, can't be blocked when you give it to Dawn. What more can I say? What more could you want out of a card? Right there next to his big version, the 10 cost Luffy that also has rush, and if your opponent activates blocker, you get to pop an 8k or less. Broken, just hasn't found the right deck. Then we have Radical Beam. This is one of the best one of the best, greatest counter events that we've seen in this game so far, and it's all the way from 01 and has made its way into almost every single red deck since then. Great card, definitely need it. And then I'm also going to say the same for zero cost events. There is a zero cost event for every color now. You should have a playset of each of them. They're all the same thing. You trash a card from your hand and you give a leader or character 3k power for the turn. They just have different triggers, different typings, and obviously different colors. But definitely something that you should have. Good for any deck, very generic, and can help you unclog your hand at times. Definitely need 4 of each of these. Next is Guard Point. This is just another really solid one cost counter event, specifically for red. Gives your leader or character 3k for the turn. Very, very strong. And then Jet Pistol, I think that this is just a strong generic removal option for red, being able to KO a 6,000 power or less character, and the trigger does the same. But that's going to cover it for all the red cards. You know, I felt like the rest of them were pretty specific and not anything that I wanted to talk about or cover on. But if you think I missed one, let me know down below. Let's go ahead and hop into the blue cards. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at these blue cards. Off the top, we're starting off from 01, and that's going to be Dracul Mihawk. This card was a banger right out the gate for blue decks, but blue decks kind of fell off for a bit and then came back and fell off and came back, and this card's price has been all over the place. Playability has been all over the place, but I do think that this card is a great option for blue, and you should definitely have your hands on it. Seen it in a lot of different blue lists, and just a great top end for blue. Good removal and good body. Next we have Doflamingo. This has also made its way into many, many blue decks over the course of time, just being a great small cost blocker that lets you stack your deck. And if you notice, we have a lot of cards that stack the deck in blue, so that's what I'm kind of basing our staples off of for blue, is cards that stack your deck, manipulate your cards, and also are removal based. So next we have Perona, and this is just Dofi that's not a blocker. It looks at the top 5 cards and rearranges them. Definitely one that you should need because it's such low cost and can help you get an early start to your game and your strategy. Next we have Boa. This is also from 01, just being a decent blocker that when you attack with it or block and it has a Dawn, draw a card if you have 5 or less in your hand. Great card. made its way into many different blue decks. I think it's something you should have. Maybe not make it into all your deck lists, but then again, it could. Really good card. Next, we have Monkey D. Luffy. I just like this card. I think it's underrated. On play and when attacking, trash 2 cards, bounce a 4 or less, and it gains double attack on a 7k body. Really, really strong card. Next, we have Usopp. This is going to be one of, if not your only rush option for blue still. I don't think we have another blue rush card yet. I want to say this is our only blue rush card. And let's just see. Let's make sure that's okay. Yeah, Usopp's your only blue rush card. So you definitely want to have a playset of him. You could catch your opponents off guard with this card every time, and it would be hilarious. Next, we have Kaya. This is just one of your best generic 2Ks for blue, being able to draw 2 and trash 2 from your hand. And then we have Soja King. This card's popularity has kind of fallen off, but I still think it's a decent enough card to warrant having a playset of. Being able to return a character with a 6 or less, and then you draw 2 and trash 2. Also has a 1,000 counter on an okay body. Like, I think it does a lot for what it is. Definitely a card that I like, but I think there are better cards. Next, we have Kaido. This is just another great top end for blue, being 10 cost, 12,000 power. This is hardly ever going to get removed from the field, and on play bounces an 8 and a 3. Very, very strong. And then we have Ulti. This card I think is also underrated. Like, mini decks could take advantage of this, but I feel that it just hasn't found its right home yet. 4 or 5,000 counter on play. If your leader is multicolored, that's the stipulation. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 of them to your hand. You don't have to reveal it either. Then you place the rest on the top or bottom of your deck in any order. Pretty good. Next, we have Borsalino. Just another decent mid to top end that bottom decks a character. X-Drake is just a bigger Doflamingo blocker, so it's definitely good to have that. Next, we have 10-drop Kaido Secret Rare, and this is just another great top end that if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you draw 4. So very, very strong. Then next we have, in my opinion, one of the best blue cards ever made, Pudding. Just a nice game leveler. On play, if your opponent returns all their cards to their hand, your opponent returns all of their hand cards to their deck and shuffles their deck. Then they draw 5 new ones. The wording on this card is very weirdly worded on the sim because it's straight translated and it's not the official card. But yeah, got messed up there for a second. Next we have Sanji, another great card from 06. Being able to play, reveal and play the top card of your deck as long as it's not a Sanji and it is a 9 or less. Very, very strong card. Very good tempo. And then we have Ace, a new card from 07 that's just a good blocker that lets you draw 2 and put 2 back from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck. So nice little cycle there, as well as a blocker. Good size body too. Next we have Mihawk. This is just a great 2K out of the 7 Warlords starter deck, being a good body that lets you cycle 2 cards from your hand as well. Then we have Sentamaru. I think this card's just very unique in how it works, and I'm hoping that we get something else to go with this in the future, maybe more pacifistas or something that you could put this card in another deck or another color and it could work well. I really like this card, and I definitely think you should have it on standby just because there's not many cards that play cards from the deck, and this is one of those, and it can do this every single turn. Very, very strong card. Plays a pacifista. And here's your pacifista, just a vanilla. There is a blocker one as well. I didn't include in here, but you should definitely have that as well. Here it is. Pacifista. You can play more than 4 of this in your deck as well. And then we have our chump blocker for blue. That's going to be Law, just your 1-drop 1k. Then we have Boa, our trigger blocker for blue, 3-drop 1k. And then we have Duval. This is just another nice small blocker. It's like a blocker mixed with a Perona, like a small Dofi blocker, if you will. Looks at the top 3 of your deck and instead of 5. Then we have Desert Spada. This is one of the good blue events, in my opinion, from 01, being able to give 2k and then gets to rearrange the top 3 cards of your deck. Then we have the blue 0-cost event. Just like I said, I think you should have a playset of each of the 0-cost events. Sanji's Pilaf just being a generic draw card, like draw 2 cards. I mean, why not? Why not have this on standby? Then we're getting into some removal cards. We have 3k Worlds that bottom decks a 5 or less. We have Red Rock that bottom decks anything. And then we have Raging Tiger Blade that places 2 6 or lesses at the bottom of the deck. Very, very strong set of cards here, and definitely all 3 that I think you should have on standby. I threw White Snake in here, even though this is really just a Nami card. I think that it is generic enough that you could play this in other decks as well. Making your leader 6k for the turn and drawing a card is never a bad thing. And then next we have new cards from '07. That's going to be Slave Arrow. This is going to be kind of like your Rad Beam for blue. You bounce a 2 or higher, and then you give 4k. So pretty good card. And then we have Love Beam. This is out of the starter deck as well, giving 4k and then draw 1 if you have 3 or less in your hand. And that's going to wrap it up for all the blue cards. Let me know if you think I missed any. There's quite a lot here, but I feel like a lot of them are very specific to their strategy. So let's go ahead and take a look at the green cards next. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and take a look at the green cards. So off the bat, we have a new one from EB, and that's going to be your Scratchman and Pooh. This is just a good 2k counter. I mean, it's not great, but it's probably one of the better ones that we have for green. This and Ezo are going to be your best ones, and Ezo's right next to it. So let's talk about Ezo. This has been a great green generic staple since '01. Being able to rest a 4 or less and be a 2k, really, really strong card. Definitely your, I want to say this is your best 2k that's like generic for green. I want to say that. Right next to that, we have Killer. This is just a good blocker that on block, if it has a Dawn, you have 3 or more characters, you draw a card. Decent card. Definitely one I think you should have. Next, we have Law. This card is really strong and was very, very strong when it was originally printed in '01. Definitely been abused for a very long time in many, many green decks, and one that I think you should definitely have on standby because could definitely see its way into green decks in the future as well. One that has been the menace of non-removal based decks for the entirety of the game. Uses Captain Kidd. If you don't know what this card does, big magnet, you have to attack it, can play characters from hand. This card's broken. It's very hard to get off the field, and if you don't have an instant answer for it, it can typically spell the end of the game for you. Very, very good card. Definitely one that you should have a playset of. Next is X-Drake, and I thought that this was just a decent body that pops a card. Definitely one I think you should have around. Next we have Yamato. This just being a double attack banish character. Really, really strong. Something that I don't think we have both of those techs on any other character in the game. Definitely one that could get abused in the future. Next is Dawn Krieg. This just gets to pop 2 rested 4 or lesses and then give it a Dawn, and it has double attack. Like, pretty strong green card. Just doesn't get played a lot. Next we have Sugar, and I know this is Don Quixote specific. However, the other effect is not. The on play just rests a 4 or less, so being another option to do that is pretty good, and it also has a counter. Next we have Diamante, just a solid 5/6 blocker. If you don't have laws, you could always play Diamante. It doesn't do the same thing, but it's pretty damn good too. So definitely recommend having a playset of this, being able to restand itself so you can attack and also have a blocker on your opponent's turn. Next we have Dofi, just your great green top end, exactly what you would want out of a green card, being able to keep 3 things rested for an extra turn. Very, very strong, and I definitely think you should have this too. Next is Rosinante, being able to play 5 costs from your hands and then also keep them from being KO'd. Very good card. Then we have Rosinante again. This is one of the best green blockers in the game, being 2 costs that also protects your other stuff. Very strong. Next we have Arlong. I just thought this was interesting, being able to make your opponent's rested leader not attack for the next turn, and it also has a trigger to rest a 4 or less. Just an interesting card. I think it could see play in the future, just not right now. Next we have Hody Jones, Green Rush. Love to see it. Only Green Rush card that we have in the TCG right now. Great, great card. Gives you get to rest 2 of any characters, and then you take your life and it gets rushed. Like, this card's broken. Very, very strong green card. Next we have Ryuma. This is just another X-Drake essentially, but it also does it on KO, so definitely think you should have that as well. Next we have Zoro. Great secret rare. Big body, 3 attacks, crazy card. Then we have Eroge, new from '07, being a blocker that stands at dawn at the end of your turn, just a good card. Next we have Bonnie, being able to lock down stuff, mini Dofi pretty much. Then we have Hawkins. The blocker part is specific to having a supernova leader, but the other part where if it were to get removed is generic, so definitely think it's a good card. Then we have Kid. This was the promo for the pre-release for '07 that was just happened this past weekend. Definitely think that you should get a playset of these because it's like mini 8-drop Kid. Definitely not as good because it's not as big, but I think it's one that you should have in your arsenal. You could definitely do some funny stuff with this card. Next we have Beige, your chump blocker for green. Then we have Bonnie. This is just your good searcher for green because there's so many Supernova cards. I thought about throwing Momo in here, but I think there's just way more Supernova cards, and Bonnie's just way better and generic, has access to better cards than Momo does. Next, we have a Pooh, just another good 2K counter option. Then we have Basil Hawkins from the starter deck as well. This just being able to attack multiple times a turn is pretty strong. Then we have Mihawk being another good 2K option and gets to play a body from hand. We have You Could Be My Samurai, getting you an extra draw if you need it. Then we have some counter events. We have Paradise Waterfall giving 2K and standing something is pretty good. Punk Gibson giving 4K and resting something is pretty good. We have Paradise Totska to rest 4 or lesses. Spiderweb to give 4K and restand. Your 0 cost event. We have the new Demon 9 Flash, which is kind of like an Amaru. Then we have Straw Sword, rest any character. I think that's pretty good. And then I threw this one in here for shits and giggles. Noah's Ark, just being able to rest all of your opponent's characters is pretty damn funny. But that's all I got for green cards. Let's go ahead and jump into purple. All right, and here we have the purple card. So starting off the top, we have a new card from EB, and that's going to be Mr. 2 Bond Clay. I know you've been seeing and hearing a lot about this card lately, but I'm here to tell you again that this card's fucking awesome. This card's so good. A 4 cost, 1,000 body, 1,000 counter. On play, gets you a Dawn active, and then when you attack, you can choose an opponent's character, and this card's attack power becomes that character's. Really, really good card. Insane. Next we have Ulti. This is just a small body that ramps you 1, so it's alright. Definitely an option, but I don't think it's amazing. A lot of these cards are just that. They're not great, but they're generic ramp options. That's what purple likes to do, right? I feel that a lot of purple's cards so far have been pretty specific to their leader and archetype, so I tried to pick the most generic ones and the ones that would fit best for a generic staple binder, you know? Ramp cards, good cards. I don't really know. There's just a lot of purple fluff, I believe, and I really hope that they start to narrow in more in the future on purple's identity that's not just Dawn ramp. So next we have King. This one's just all right. It pops a 3 and a 2. Then we have Sasuke. This is another 2K that also gets you to ramp if you want. Then we have Basil Hawkins, just another ramper. We have X-Drake, which is one of the better 2Ks for purple, being able to rip a card from your opponent's hand if you play it. Then we have Shiki. This is just a 2K. I mean, just thought I'd throw him in here because he can also play himself, but never really going to do that. Just a 2K. Then we have Magellan. This being able to set your opponent back on a Dawn is pretty damn funny. Then we have Polly being able to ramp and pop. Actually, don't think, yeah, it ramps and pops. Sorry, I thought it just popped for a second, but it ramps and pops, so good card. Then I threw Luffy in here just because it's a funny rush option for purple. Purple has a couple rush cards, but I thought this one was funny. Then we have Miss All Sunday being a really good generic ramper that also draws you a card and has a trigger to play herself. Then we have Usohachi, another good generic 2K. We have Orobi, which can pop a 3 or less. We have Zorojuro, another great generic ramper. Then we have another good 2K in Fernosuke, being able to get rush if you have 8 or more Dawn. Then we have another generic ramper that's also a 2K. This one's really good. It's Double Finger. Then we have Kid Blocker. This card's insane, being able to give you another active Dawn whenever you shuffle 1 Dawn back. Very, very powerful card. Then we have Gear 5 Luffy, being able to give you a turn skip. Turn skip your opponent, gets you another turn, and can also ramp you. Then we have Reiju, which can be some extra draw power. We have Shiki as your chump blocker. There are a couple chump blockers for purple. They're all 2 costs, but I think this is the best one just because if you have 8 or more Dawn, you get to draw and trash one. And then Z is an interesting card. Zephyr, just being able to give something, just negate something and then pop it. Pretty interesting card. Then we have the new Sanji from 07 that just came out. Definitely a purple staple there. We have Ulti being another good 2K that plays a page 1, and here's your page 1 right here. There's another one, but I think this is the best option to play it off of the Ulti. Then we have Kaido, great top end for purple, getting rush, popping something, awesome. We have King being able to pop a 4 or less, so that's pretty good on curve. Then we have Queen, one of the best blockers ever printed, being able to draw you 2 cards and trash 1, also being a decent sized body as well. Then we have Ein, just another ramper. We have Uta being another great blocker that on block rests a 5 or less. Then we have John Bart being another ramper. We have Law being a great blocker that also gives you some hand control, ripping some cards out of your opponent's hand. We have Kid. This card is insane for certain decks, but just a great overall purple card, being able to boost your leader's power up for a whole turn by 1,000. Then we have Wire. I threw this in here just because I think it's overlooked a lot of times, just being able to give you a cycle every turn when your Dawn is shuffled back. So pretty decent card. Next from EB, we have Ragnarok. Just being able to KO an 8 or less is pretty good for purple. We have Sheep's Horn. Being able to rest 6 or less is pretty good. Then we have Thunder Bagua, 4k counter, then also can ramp you. We have Hell's Judgment, which gives minus 3k to 2 things. Here's your 0 cost for purple, pretty good card. Guess what it does? It ramps you. Then we have Noro Beam, new from 07, being able to give 2k, minus 2k to 2 things. And then we have another good ramp card in Lead Performer Disaster, being able to draw you and ramp one active. And then we have another great event in Blast Breath, being a 4k buff. And that's all I got for purple. Like I said, I feel like a lot of the purple cards are archetype specific or just bad. We have a lot of purple fluff and filler right now, and I really want to see Bandai step up their game. I feel like the 08 purple cards are kind of crazy, but we don't really want to talk about those yet because they're not out. But maybe we'll make a video on that when it comes out. But before that, let's just go ahead and jump into the black cards, because we got a whole lot of those to get through. All right, and to kick things off with the black cards, we got a couple from EB, and that's going to be Brook. Just a great new card that has an on-play and when attacking ability to give -1 and KO a 0. Very, very good card. Then we have Laboon, which is like an activate main Kuzan. You just get to rest it and give -4. Speaking of Kuzan, here's Kuzan. On play, draws a card, and when attacking, gives -4 to something. Kobe being a great card to pop 3 or lesses. Sakazuki being a great card to pop 5 or lesses. Suru being a great 2k. Honestly, probably your best 2k for black. Being able to also give -2 cost to something. Then we have Rosinante as a chump blocker. Just threw him in here. I believe there's a couple other ones, but this is the one that I threw in here. Then we have Borsalino, one of the best blockers in the game. Can't be KO'd on your opponent's turn. It's a blocker, and it has 1,000 extra power on your opponent's turn. Like, really, really strong card. Then we have Garp, just another solid 2k. Then we have Kuzan, secret rare, being able to give -5 to everything on the field and KOs a 0 cost on play. Isho giving -3 to everything, and hand ripping your opponent is very strong on a big body. Virgo just being another good 2k. Khalifa being a great 2k that lets you draw 2, trash 2, and give -2 to something. Very, very good card. Then we have Fukuro. This is another chump blocker, but this one cannot be KO'd by effects. Then we have Brand New as your searcher. There's a couple different searchers for black, but this is the one that I wanted to throw in here just because there's a lot of Navy cards, and most black decks are running some kind of Navy package. I feel that more nowadays we're moving away from that, with Lucci and Moria being the top black decks, but Navy will be back. Don't worry about that. Brand New is a great card, and you should definitely have them on hand. Sabo, great blocker, really, really strong card. Definitely one that you need a playset of. Bart being another good 2k that's also a blocker. Luffy, big body that can attack twice in a turn. Decent card. I just feel like Rebecca's the best place for it, and right now Rebecca just isn't good, so maybe it can find its home in another deck one day. Next we have another good 2k in One-Legged Soldier. Being able to give minus cost to something as well as being a 2k is always phenomenal. Here we have another one, Shirahoshi being another cool 2k that can hand rip your opponent. Then we have Mancherry being able to recycle cards to your hand. Rebecca being a great blocker for black, being able to recycle cards to your hand and play cards from your hand. Rob Lucci being a menace to society and popping 2 bodies at once. Moria bringing back 2 bodies from the trash. Brooke being able to trash characters is really, really good. Corona being another generic option for cost reduction and making your opponent trash a card and being a 2k, very solid card. Stussy, new from 07, being a great card to remove anybody from the field. Then we have Morgans getting full hand knowledge. I think this is just an interesting card from 07, very overlooked and underrated, getting full hand knowledge from your opponent. Then we have the new Nightmare Luffy. Being able to trash cards is always great when there is black decks running around, and I think this card does it great. Next we have Sabo, just being Kobe and Sakazuki combined into one card on a big body. Excellent card. Definitely worth picking up a playset of. Then we have Smoker. This was played in Smoker. Isn't really played that much now, but I definitely think it's something you should have on hand. Being able to get double attack, and it cannot be KO'd by effects. Great card. Then we have Sengoku. This is just like a bigger Kuzan that does not draw a card. We have Shishigi as another great 2K that can minus stuff. Hina is a great body that can minus stuff. Helmeppo is another good body that can minus stuff. Garp being a body that can pop. Kobe being another body that can pop stuff. Then we have Shanks. This card's just never really seen great play, but one day I do believe that this card will be good, being able to KO all characters with the cost of 1 or less on the field. Then we have Shirahoshi being a blocker that gives minus cost on play. We have Vivi as your trigger blocker. We have Shigon Finger Gun as your new KO card for black. Actually, this is the wrong card. This is not the one I wanted to talk about. It's this one, Tempest Kick. We'll talk about this now instead. This is the new Great Eruption. You get to draw a card and they give -3 if you have 10 or more in your trash. Ice Age being great cost reduction. Meteor Volcano being able to pop 1 or lesses. Soap Sheep giving -2 to 2 different things is pretty cool. Here's your 0 cost event for black. Destructive Sword of Thunder, just another removal card. Barrier being like your Rad Beam for black. We have Negative Hollow. I thought this was funny enough to throw in here, being able to make your opponent trash a card from hand. And then we have Shockwave being a great counter event for black, giving +4K and KOing a 3 or less. That's about all I have for black. Let me know if you think I missed anything. And it's time to move on to the final color, yellow. Alrighty, and let's go ahead and kick things off with for the yellow cards with Viola from EBO1 being a great blocker that can also look at your opponent's life and put them in any order or turn all your life cards face down. Pretty cool card. Just need to see where it lands for the future. I think it's a good card, and I definitely think it's one that could see some play in the future, but for now, it doesn't really have a great home other than Kyros. Next we have Flampe being a great new 2K that can get you some extra advantage by taking a life card. Then we have Shirahoshi, a good blocker that once KO'd gets you a new life. Cracker being a great card that can get double attack that can also play itself from life. Pudding being your searcher for yellow. Doesn't search everything, of course, but this is the one I picked just because Big Mom Pirates are some of the best cards for yellow, and definitely could see them getting more support down the line as well. Linlin being leader locked to Big Mom Pirates type leaders. This card's still atrocious, and you need to have a playset of it. Then we have Strusen just being an okay 2K. Shirahoshi being one of the best trigger cards, getting you to draw 3 and trash 2. Then we have Katakuri, of course, being a great body that can stack a character into life. Then we have Beige, one of the best triggers and 2K counters ever printed. We have Sanji, nice trigger blocker body. We have Yamato, big body that heals and pops. Rush Anel, one of your good rush cards for yellow, one of your only rush options for yellow, honestly, but also cannot be removed from the field easily. Then we have Ohm, which is also paired with Holy, being able to play itself, play Holy, and then if you're at 2 or less, get a buff. Really strong card in duo. Then we have Gadatsu, great card for curve and being able to pop opponents' characters. Satori being another good 2K that can play itself if you need to. Onami being able to give your leader or characters banish, and then also being a great trigger to blow up anything that is 5 or less. Then we have Kikunojo, great new body from 06. If your opponent's life is 3 or less and it gets KO'd, you get a new life card from the top of your deck, and it also has a trigger to play itself. Hiyori being one of the best 2Ks for yellow as well, being able to manipulate your life and give you a new one from your hand. Then we have Nekomamushi, just interesting card. I think this card doesn't see enough play. Being able to attack active characters and has a trigger to play itself is pretty dang good. Then we have Frankie, new card from 07, being another awesome 2K for the yellow lineup. Being able to draw a card, and then if you have 1 or less life, play this card. Really strong. We have the new Egghead Luffy that can pop stuff, draw cards, and also KO from trigger. Absolutely insane. The new Ace from 07 is also just as crazy, being able to heal, and then if you have 2 or less, get to give rush. Crazy card. I think you should have a playset of. This one's kind of hit or miss. I'm not saying go buy playset of this card. I just wanted to talk about this. This one I think could have potential in the future with Wano decks, but for now I feel that Onami's just better, but it's still an interesting card. Then we have Katakuri being able to give rush and also look at life. We have Daifuku being able to swap out the top card of your life, basically like giving you a draw every turn when you attack with them. Then we have your trigger blocker for yellow being Brule. We have Seven Mom, trashing your opponent's life or adding to yours, their choice of course. We have Edward Newgate, which is just now starting to see more play in Pudding in the East, being able to manipulate your life. pretty good card. Then we have the three brothers, and I wanted to throw the little brothers in here as well, but I feel like those are pretty specific to playing the three brothers leaders, but they're all respective of each other. Sabo plays Sabo, Ace plays Ace, and Luffy plays Luffy. Definitely worth mentioning at least. But really just wanted to talk about the big ones. Big Sabo gets to pop a 5 or less. Ace gets Rush, and then Luffy can get Buff. Very, very good cards. And the little ones are definitely worth mentioning as well, being able to play the big ones out of life. Then we have Raigo. This is going to be your big removal event for yellow. Just a great overall card, being able to remove stuff if you go down to 1 life as the condition. They have Kaku Sovereignty. This is just an interesting card. 2 cost, gives 5k buff. Crazy. Just not played. Then we have Thunderbolt. Great card for removal. We have El Thorb. It's like your Rad Beam for yellow. Then we have Amaru, and this gives a buff and rests a 4 or less if you meet the life condition. We have You're the One Who Should Disappear, which is, in my opinion, the best 0 cost event out of all of them, because it's not only a 3k boost, but if it is your last life card and you trigger it, you get a new life card. And then we have Flame Split, new card from 07. Just a decent main and counter event that gives a buff and can possibly rest something as well. Next we have Soul Pocus, which is just 7 Mom in an event. Great card. Then we have Nakabura Arrow, just another interesting counter card from the Yamato structure deck. And then we have Queen Mama Chanter, being a pretty generic stage card that can help you cycle some cards through your life from your field. Now, that's about all I have for you. I know this is a longer video, but these are all the cards that I could think of that I could consider stable cards that I would consider having a playset of in my collection at all times. If you think I missed anything, definitely let me know down in the comments below. If you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. Go over to my channel, make sure you haven't missed anything else. And yeah, I will see you all on the next one. Peace.